really, I know nothing. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get what I need. And I have to trust my higher self that all the information that I have is there. It's going to pull bits and pieces of it into my space as I need it to do this work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So I think with you, like this is a little off topic, but we were talking before about how you've been really working on your intuitive development and stuff. You know, I think that what happens with a lot of people, especially when they really, really open up to it in such a big, extreme way like we have, is that they want they want their psychic abilities to be a specific thing. So they want to be able to see energy with their eyes. They want to be able to see ghosts or see whatever with their eyes, or they want to be able to hear these voices going on. And believe me, it's not that great, okay? But when you talk about being able to feel the energy, that's a massive, massive thing, especially doing what we do, because you can feel where blocks are in energy, and you might not be able to like see exactly what they are, but that's where intuition will come in too. Like, oh, that is a, you know, mechanism, that's a silicon energy, blah, 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 blah. But you don't have to see it. You don't have to see gold. You just have to know what the frequency feels like. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's kind of like with anybody who's doing intuitive development, if they're going to do this work or anything else, is you have to like recognize what your strengths are, what your initial psychic and intuitive abilities are. And then once you get that and you start really, really working on them, then you can say what'll happen is that'll just keep raising your vibration and raising your vibration to where the other ones will slowly start to open up. You can force things to open up by totally focusing on a specific chakra and doing all this kind of stuff, but who's it serving? You know, you have to like trust your higher self and trust your energy field that you're getting exactly what you need in the moment, and then really develop the abilities around what you already have. And then you can start, and because what's going to happen is you're going to start to learn discernment and things. If you already have a gift of something specific, you can learn discernment, what information is true, what's not true, that kind of a thing. Like one of the things in Find Me that I had to learn how to do was when you're looking for, whether it's a human who's living, who's lost somewhere or been kidnapped or whatever, or a human who's deceased, we never knew which one it was. All we ever got was a name, basically, in a picture. So you had to, and the location of where they went missing. You had to decide, is this person alive or dead? So I had to figure out how to discern, is this person living or deceased? What is the difference between a living spirit's energy and a deceased spirit's energy? Like, it took me a while to really
What did you find the difference was?
For me, I started getting a voice that would tell me, because I used all my other tricks and nothing worked. And literally I was like, well, you know what? Hey, how about a yes or no? Is this person alive? And I would hear my voice, yes. Is this person dead? It was a knowing, it was clear cognizance. Right. Before that, for almost a year before that, I struggled with it because I'm so used to seeing and hearing that and feeling that I was trying to like figure it out in the wrong way. And when really the whole time I had a really nice, lovely, you know, higher self voice basically going, hello, I can tell you, it'll just take 5 seconds, ask the right questions. Right. But, you know, I didn't have anybody there to really help me with that. I had to kind of figure that out on my own. But once I figured it out, then it became a really simple. And I stopped making that mistake, because that was a mistake I always made. Right.
Yeah, what you were saying about the specific thing that you're trying to put, you know, like a specific focus that you're trying to work really hard on. Mm-hmm. I got some insight yesterday because like I'm looking to solve specific things in my life. But it's funny, you know, like I was telling my friend this morning, think of a happy farmer that just like walks through a bunch of land and just sprinkles a bunch of seeds and is like, oh, I'm just happy. I'm just throwing, you know, seeds out there. And he doesn't have any expectation. And then things grow and they have a harvest and everything kind of works out. And like in some parts of my life, I feel like I'm like that happy farmer where I'm like, oh, sprinkle seed here, sprinkle seed there. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, great. But I think once in life where we get like attached on a specific result, it's like it has to show up a certain way, a certain color, a certain, you know, all these little specifications. And then what happens is we get so attached that there's no allowing, so nothing will come in there because we're so specific. And so yesterday, I thought of looking at things from a different standpoint, where if it had nothing to do with that person or that situation, and we were just learning around life for our own involvement and our own self-love and our own energy, and we just had faith that it'll all work itself out anyway and it'll align. If we just kind of let that go, like that specific situation or that specific person, and we just grew to grow, then things will align anyway and show up the way that you want them to without you trying to work so hard on it.
Right.
So
that's true. That's true. You know, I used to have, I used to write, I allow all over everything. I allow healing. I allow abundance. I allow, my psychic abilities. I allow, because we do, we try to control, even if you're not a technically controlling person, we try to control so much within our space because it makes us feel safer. And, because we don't feel safe here, and nobody ever really knows why they don't feel safe here, but nobody feels safe here. And I mean, maybe it's just the nature of what I do for a living. I work with people who are, struggling physically, emotionally, or spiritually. They wouldn't come to me if they were perfectly happy and in a joy state. But to be really honest with you, I've met very few people in my life who are really happy and in a joy state. Everybody struggles and everyone's in fear. And so we feel like we need to control our space, and we filter things that are safe to kind of know about or see or to understand. And so when you start that practice of allowing, and you just start opening up and just continually telling yourself, I allow, it makes a big difference, because you do kind of blossom and flower. And the things that are scary tend to not be as scary anymore, because it's just kind of like, well,
right.
It is, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm going to allow myself to go, go over here and look at this cool stuff. You know what I mean?
Have you seen the Kindness Diaries on Netflix?
What is it about? I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, so someone just referred it to us a couple days ago, but it reminded me of a time in my life. So the Kindness Diaries is about this guy. He was really successful in corporate America. He had businesses and everything. And he just decided that he wasn't happy. And what he wanted to do is go out and seek the kindness of strangers. So
right.
What he did was he took a motorcycle, basically.
Oh, that's right. We did see that. We
no
did.
money.
Yeah.
And just went out and just tested. Right.
Right.
And it reminded me of a couple things. One, when I was in direct sales and I went to Australia, I remember going for 2 weeks and I didn't return on my plane flight home. I said, I'm just going to stay here, because I was so excited about being in a new country. I was like, oh, the hell with it. I've
been to Australia. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great country. I love it.
So I traveled around Australia and New Zealand for a couple years. And when I was in that business, I helped so many people that weren't even in my business, just because I was from the United States and I was like the out-of-town expert. People wanted to take me out for dinner. They wanted to pick me up. And I but I just gave so much to help them, from just like a caring aspect where I wasn't attached to it, that I really got to learn like a true meaning of true wealth is not so much money, but it was like another level of belief that I experienced when I was in Australia, because there was a time in Australia where I was like, wow, I am really going on faith here. And it went into my bones and my body. And I would walk into a meeting with like hundreds of people. And before the meeting, I'd be like, I have no idea how I'm doing this. But by the end of the meeting, I swear, like everybody would be signing up. Everybody would want, it's like, it was just, I was in this zone of belief that it didn't matter what I had in my pocket. I didn't matter like what was going on. It just all worked out based on that level of energy. Yeah. And I think like reading a book called Thrive, there's a book called about plant-based food. And the first chapter, I really enjoyed it because it talked about imaginary stress or subjective stress that we all take on as real stress. So what happens is we start to fertilize like these programs in our mind that we're stressed out, and there's no real stress. It's not like a tiger is chasing us through the jungles of the Amazon. It's not like somebody is standing there with a gun, but like we all form these patterns where we like have expectations, or we have attached outcomes, or we feel like we need this sense of security. And when it really comes down to it, like being in Mount Shasta and being around nature, like when you're in the river and you're looking at the amazing beauty of nature and you're grounded and you're present, you're not thinking about anything else. But when you're in these systems like Los Angeles, or these
from there.
these cities, you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, what are people on? Like I was in an elevator like a day ago, and everybody in the elevator had cell phones, right? And there was like 14 people in this elevator. So I turn around and I look at everybody and I go, hey guys, how you guys doing? And they look at their cell phone and they're like, did someone just talk to me? And I'm like, I'm talking to everybody here. Like, I was like, hey, technology is great, but let's all stay connected, because that's what life's about. And you should have saw like everybody's brain just spun.
You know what? Everybody was like that even before technology, because I was born and raised in Southern California, and I moved here when I was, I want to say 29 to Phoenix. And what freaked me out in Phoenix was when you would walk down the street, people would actually say hi to you. So they would like look you in the eye and they'd say, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, what does he want? I'm like reaching in my bag for my mace, like nobody talks to you unless they want to ask you for money, or they want to, spin some tale about, where they need you to go with them or whatever. So in LA, you're raised to be totally suspicious of everybody who wants to talk to you about anything. I mean, it's crazy. It's like, aside from New York, it's like the least friendly place I've ever been, unless you go out to the beach. And then it's like everybody's free and easy and stuff. But when you're in the city, or you're downtown or whatever, it's like, forget it. Nobody wants to talk to anybody. So apparently now, that's solidified with technology. Now they don't have to, because you can literally have something in front of you instead of standing there uncomfortably in a room full of people.
Yeah.
Not my favorite thing about LA.
I think I was talking to somebody, and they remembered something that I said to them. I said, I think the future technology is actually going to be human connection.
Yeah.
And I heard something yesterday on a video of somebody that channels, energies, and it made so much sense. They said our inner world, like our, whatever you want to call it, subconscious or internal intuition, is much more powerful than the most advanced computer out there.
Right.
And so while technology is great, what they were saying is basically that technology also starts to make you lazy, where you're not using your own powers.
Right.
That you have, that are even more dynamic and more magnificent than the computer that you have.
Right. What's really amazing is when you start to get around like children, small children, and we had the pleasure of being around some pretty awake kids when we were at the retreat. Like you look at the baby that was there, and she's totally telepathic. She throws images into your head that, you can see, everybody else can see. So it's not like, it's just you imagining things. I mean, that's how kids are today. So I agree with you. I think that we're evolving. This technology is actually evolving us in a way. It's not making us less evolved. It's actually evolving us more, because we're communicating with each other distantly with, phones and things like that. But I almost believe that in a way it's like opening us up to be able to communicate with each other from a distance, just kind of intuitively. I'm starting to see it more and more with really small children, and I think that that's kind of the way the human evolution is going. I think that it might have been like that at one time. If you look at Roman works with dogs, and when you look at dogs in a pack of dogs where there's basically more than two, they communicate with each other that way. It's really subtle, but one will tell the other one to go do something, and you don't even really recognize this. There's not even really any signs. It could just be subtle movements or little noises that you're not hearing, but I'm kind of inclined to believe that animals do have especially animals like pack animals and herd animals have a sense of telepathy about them, to where they can communicate with each other on that level. And maybe humans used to be like that, and we lost it somewhere along the way. I don't know. It would make sense.
Yep. Yeah, or sometimes it's there, you know, like, it's funny, I'm asking you all these questions around seeing things and feeling energy, and especially after the retreat, being like more present to those things. But there's probably things subconsciously that I've tapped into that are just part of me. Because like, it's funny, like sometimes my wife will say, well, if you could just get paid to make people excited by talking to them, like you should have that job. but it's like, I always bring like possibility to any conversation. Like since I got back to the retreat, I'm even more aligned. Like every day, I swear, every day I'm meeting somebody that's aligned with energy, or they're reading about the consciousness of an octopus and they're creating a TV show, or they're like somebody the other day I ran into wants to start a dog spa, and I thought of Roman, and I was like, oh, you need to talk to Roman, because hey, if anybody in the entertainment industry wants a dog, like they want an enlightened dog that is a healer, right? So,
yeah, an enlightened dog.
You need to call Roman and have an edge. Like if you call your doggy spa like the pet Vortex, like imagine like you're gonna have an extra edge like over your clients, and the guy's like, oh, thank you so much. And then I told Roman, and I'm just like, it just comes like, out of me naturally.
The marketing muse,
I know.
You know.
But I'm not even trying to market. It's just like,
right. I know what you mean.
It's the imagination in me, like the kid that is always thinking of ideas. I mean, my company is called I Think an Idea, like, and it's funny because whenever I give someone a card or I tell them the name of my company, the next thing that comes to their mind is, oh, I have an idea. So it talks to like that inner child, because everybody has ideas.
Right.
And everybody's excited about stuff. But then, you know, you have the constraints of the system, or whatever you want to call it, the parasitic construct. The matrix. Or and even being at the retreat, I felt like Neo. I was like, this is it? I was like, where's the magic? I'm just doing stretching and lymphatic drainage. Like,
well, you know what? But you know what happens though when you start working on people, and you start to see the effect that it has on their life. Because the first week I just was doing kind of freebies on a few different people that have helped me along the way personally over the years, and who are really high frequency healers who help a lot of people. And I knew that by doing clearings with them, it was only going to help them to enhance what they already do. Right. And the sessions were very powerful for them. I felt like I was just doing what we do. You know, you just pulling stuff off and moving energy around, and not that big of a deal, but it was life-changing and transformative. I had one person, she basically said she cussed when she said, but she said I shook the crap out of her. She used another word, but she felt like I shook the crap out of her awake. Like not in a bad way, but she thought she took the red pill. She had no idea that nobody even offered her a pill yet. Do you know what I mean? It's like she had no idea what that meant until she got cleared and she started to see reality, and really was able to start using her gifts in a totally different way. And I've heard that multiple times over the last week. I mean, it's just been a week since I started really doing this after the retreat. Before that, I was doing it kind of. But that doing all that energy flow and that movement, really what it did was and I think we all kind of got some downloads or something too, because everybody shifted in consciousness. And also when you're in a group of people who have the same mindset, it helps you to move that much quicker. It helps your energy to flow, because you're in this conditioned space with all these people of like mind who are there to learn the same thing and there to do the same thing. And it completely changes your energy. I mean, we were taking pictures of people the last day and people were glowing gold. I mean, they're just literally glowing gold in all the pictures. It was super cool. And, trying to keep that up at home is not so easy. It's not that easy, even if you're doing it every day. I'm starting to notice, though, the more that I'm doing clearings on people, and I'm bringing in that gold energy for myself, it seems to be I'm having less and less blocks every day when I get up. I'll have a couple of things I got to pull off or whatever, but it's really mild. I'm starting to notice that it seems like it's becoming more and more difficult for anything to kind of attach to me or do anything to me really at this point. It happens, but it's minor. It's easily rectified. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gone on that retreat and really, I mean, we were hardcore every single day, all day, just working on ourselves.
Right.
And none of us do that. Nobody has time for that.
What's weird is like I had some work to do, and I felt restricted. Like my body was saying, "Don't work." No. Like you need, like it was almost like my hands were tied. Like it was like, okay, I know I need to get stuff done, but I'm not going to do it because that's not aligned with what I'm here for.
Roman and I, we both work online. That's what we do. 90% of what we do is online. So, of course, the place we're staying has no internet connection. Right. So we can't, and Roman, and I hope he doesn't mind that I'm saying this, he literally had no internet, no phone connection. So he couldn't even do an appointment. His hands were totally tied.
Right.
The only time he had connection was when we were at the hotel. That was it, on the Wi-Fi. He had no cell service the entire time unless he went 90 minutes out of town. And so it was, and he had appointments booked. Like after we were, at the end of the day, he had booked appointments for clients to see them in the evenings, online, and he couldn't. He was trapped. Right. And it was kind of like exactly what you said, the universe going, just, you know what, if you're going to try to like force this, we're going to stop you because you need to focus on you and deal with yourself. And then when we get home, we'll deal with the money part of it. And
right.
Try to get everything back online. But I totally agree with you. That's kind of what happened with me. My clients dropped away. It was like I just didn't have any clients that week. It was weird.
Yeah, it was a funny story, and I probably shared this with some people, but I had met Eric through a friend of mine from high school I used to be in art class with. He's a plastic surgeon. He referred me over to someone named Greg Mara, and Greg Mara needed help with advertising with like his website and stuff. So I had Greg do a session on me, but I was editing a video that Eric was in with Greg.
Right, I saw that. That's how he came into my view. Right.
So I saw Eric, and I connected with something very interesting because I felt as if what Eric was saying was making sense, but I've never heard it before. And he was so animate about and passionate about like the specifics of what he was doing. And I was like, wow, like he definitely knows something that I need to like tap into. Yeah. So I called him up. I'm like, can I help you market? Can I help you market retreats? Because I'm really being called. I don't know why, to just connect with you. And so we started talking, and he told me about the retreat. And then it was funny. I told my wife and my daughter, I was like, I think it would be good for us to go on the retreat. And they're like, do we have to go the whole week? And, do we really have to stay for the whole thing? And there was all these considerations that were coming up. And then something happened with our place where we stay, where like the plumbing went, and we had this leak in these 2 rooms outside of the room that the leak was in. And we were forced to like leave there, and the apartment, the management company said, hey, you guys are going to have to leave for this amount of time. And we're going to, do this for you because you have to do that. And I was like, wow, how perfect. I started like laughing to myself because what turned out to be like, well, maybe I'll go by myself, or I don't know what I'll do, to all of us going. And it was like the best thing that we ever did. Yeah. And we were like, wow, we were just.
They brought such an awesome energy, especially your daughter just brought such an awesome energy.
Oh yeah. She's like, can I stay another week?
She's so confident. And so, like when we were, the last day when we were at the lake, and she's like, I need you to come with me. And I was like, what are you supposed to be around for? Like I was laughing, but then I went with her and it was cool. But she's so hilarious because she just knows what's up,
I know. Yesterday she was showing someone the coin. She took a class yesterday and she goes, let me show you something. Everywhere she goes, she's doing the coin on the wall. And then at the end she smiles and then she takes it away and it sticks. Yeah. And people are like, how did you do that? She's like energy.
Energy.
Right. Yeah. So what do you want to do? Like,
Remind
what's
me
your?
about magic, you know, like
Oh
having the
yeah.
kids there.